Do not answer the phone. Whatever you do, do not answer it. Because if it says room 9, that means I already did. And I'm not calling for help anymore. I'm calling so it knows you exist. I took the night shift at a roadside motel that should have been empty. It stood alone off a forgotten highway in northern Arizona, where the desert looked flat by day and endless by night. The owner told me the place barely got any guests after summer, so my job was simple: answer the phone, watch the cameras, and stay awake until sunrise. He laughed when he handed me the keys, but it was the kind of laugh people use when they do not want to explain something. Then he added one rule: if room 9 ever calls the front desk, do not answer. I thought it was a joke. There were only 8 rooms in the motel. The lobby was small enough to cross in 6 steps. There was an old bell on the counter, a humming soda machine, and a coffee maker that smelled like burnt pennies. Behind me, a wall of monitors showed grainy black and white feeds from the parking lot, the hallway, and the ice machine out back. Nobody had mentioned the old postcards pinned behind the counter, all showing the motel from angles that did not match the real building. In every photo, there was a 9th window glowing at the end of the hall. I noticed that only later, after I had already heard my own voice begging through the door. By midnight, the whole building sounded asleep. The air conditioner clicked on and off. The neon vacancy sign outside buzzed like an angry insect. Every few minutes, sand tapped softly against the glass doors. At 12:43 a.m., the front desk phone rang. I jumped hard enough to hit my knee on the drawer beneath the counter. The display was blank. No number, no room. I stared at it until the ringing stopped. A second later, one of the cameras flickered. Hallway camera. The picture came back covered in static, then cleared. At the far end of the hallway, just before the darkness swallowed the last door, someone was standing there. The figure was too tall. Not impossibly tall, just wrong in a way my eyes did not like. Its head nearly touched the exit sign. Its arms hung still at its sides, and its face was aimed directly at the camera. I left the monitor and looked through the lobby door into the real hallway. Nothing. When I looked back at the screen, the hallway was empty there too. At 1:07, the phone rang again. This time, the display showed a number. 9. I did not touch the receiver. It rang 6 times, then stopped. A minute later, the soda machine in the corner dropped a can by itself. The can hit the tray with a metallic crack that echoed through the lobby. I told myself old buildings do weird things at night. Wires fail, machines jam. People imagine things when they are tired. Then I checked the guest ledger. Rooms 1, 3, and 6 were occupied. 2 families and 1 truck driver. The rest were empty. There was no room 9. I should have stayed behind the desk. Instead, I grabbed the flashlight from the hook and stepped into the hallway. The carpet muffled my footsteps. Every door was closed. The air felt colder there than it had in the lobby. Not outdoor cold, the kind of cold you feel when a freezer door is open somewhere nearby. I checked room 7. Empty. Room 8. Empty. At the end of the hall was a blank stretch of wall with an old landscape painting hanging crooked over it. That was where the building ended. No hidden corner, no extra door, no room 9. I started to laugh at myself. Then my flashlight beam shook across the painting and I saw a brass number nailed into the frame. 9. It had not been there before. I backed up so fast my shoulder hit the wall. The phone started ringing behind me in the lobby, loud, urgent, almost angry. I ran back and looked at the display. 9. Still, I did not answer. The ringing stopped. One of the occupied rooms opened down the hall, and the truck driver stepped out in jeans and a white undershirt. He looked half asleep and fully irritated. You gonna get that phone or let it scream all night? Before I could answer, he frowned toward the far wall. What room is that? I turned. The painting was gone. In its place stood a narrow door I swear had not existed 30 seconds earlier. Faded green paint, a tarnished knob, and a brass number screwed in above the frame. 9. The driver muttered something under his breath. Then, like he had suddenly remembered an appointment somewhere else on Earth, he backed into his room and locked the door. I stood alone in the hallway, holding a flashlight that suddenly felt useless. The desk phone rang again, but this time it was not in the lobby. The sound was coming from behind the new door. 1 ring, 2, 3. Then a voice came through the wood, thin and shaky. "Please." It was my voice. "Open the door before he comes back." Every hair on my arms lifted. I stumbled backward. The voice spoke again. "You have to believe me. I am you." That was enough for me. I went straight to the lobby, grabbed my backpack, and decided I was leaving. I did not care about the paycheck. I did not care if the owner fired me. I pushed open the glass doors and stepped into the parking lot. My car was there. So were the guest cars, but the highway beyond the motel was gone. Where the road should have been, there was only darkness, not night, not distance, just darkness, as if the world ended at the edge of the property. The neon sign buzzed overhead. Vacancy. Then, with a sharp electric pop, the V went dark. Vacancy. The office lights behind me shut off all at once. Every monitor died. The lobby vanished into black glass. Only one thing still glowed. A thin yellow line under the door to room 9. I wish I could say I got in my car and escaped, but something in me needed to know why that door had my voice behind it. So I went back inside. The hallway seemed longer now. The air smelled dusty and sweet, like flowers left too long in a closed room. When I stopped outside room 9, the voice whispered again, "Do not let him see you first." I put my hand on the knob. It was warm. Inside, the room looked bigger than the entire motel. Rows of identical beds stretched into darkness. Each had a person lying on top of it. At first I thought they were asleep. Then I realized every face was mine. Older me, younger me with a beard, me with a scar I do not have, me in clothes I had never owned. Hundreds of versions, all still, all pale, all breathing just enough to move the blankets. At the center of the room stood a chair facing away from me. Someone was sitting in it. The voice from the nearest bed said, "Do not step farther in." The figure in the chair tilted its head, slowly, like it had been waiting for that exact sentence. Then it stood up. I never saw its face clearly. The room seemed to refuse it. My eyes slipped off it the way eyes slide off something reflected in moving water. But I understood what it was doing. It was choosing, comparing, deciding which version of me belonged outside the door. I ran, not because it chased me, because every sleeping version of me opened its eyes at the same time. I slammed the door and locked it, though I knew locks meant nothing there. The hallway lights started bursting one by one. Pop, pop, pop. Darkness rushed toward me between each flash. I made it to the lobby, tripped over the rug, and hit the floor hard. The front desk phone was already ringing. I answered without thinking. On the other end, the owner spoke in a flat, tired voice. "Did you open it?" I could barely breathe. "You knew about this?" He was quiet for a second. Then he said, "It only appears for people who are almost ready." Ready for what? To be replaced. The line crackled. I heard the motel bell ring by itself on the counter. Then footsteps crossed the lobby behind me. Slow, unhurried, certain. The owner whispered, "Do not look at him." I looked anyway. Someone stood in the reflection of the dark window. My height, my shoulders, my face, but smiling wider than I knew how. The reflection lifted one hand and pressed a finger to its lips. Then all the lights came back. The monitors buzzed alive. The highway was visible beyond the parking lot. The hallway was normal. At the far end, there was only a crooked painting on the wall. No door, no number 9. By sunrise, I had convinced myself it had been exhaustion, fear, maybe some desert heat still trapped in the walls. I quit anyway. The owner did not argue. He just nodded like he'd expected it. That was 8 months ago. I live 3 states away now. Different apartment, different job, different life. And sometimes, late at night, my phone rings from an unknown number. I never answer. But last week, I made a mistake. I picked up on the fourth ring. For a moment, there was only static. Then I heard a familiar humming neon sign, a bell on a counter, an air conditioner clicking on and off, and finally my own voice, shaking and far away. Please, do not let him answer. Because this time, I was not calling from room 9. I was calling from the front desk,